welcome to another A-Level Computer Science video with me, Mr Goff, for MrGoff.com. This video will focus on communication basics. The bit rate is the number of bits that can be transmitted serially per second as electronic pulses down a wire. The baud rate is the number of times the signal changes per second. Because it is possible to encode more than one bit at each change, the bit rate and the baud rate may differ, but they are proportionate. The relationship between the bit rate and baud rate is the bit rate is equal to the baud rate times the number of bits encoded on each signal. As you can see in this example here, if just one bit is encoded at each change of signal, then the bit rate is equal to the baud rate. If we have 2 bits encoded, then the bit rate will be double the baud rate. If we had 3 bits, it would be triple the baud rate, and so on. Bandwidth is the maximum amount of bits that can be transferred at one time. Bandwidth is proportionate to bit rate, as the more bits that can be transferred at one time, the more bits can be transmitted in a second. The usual analogy made about bandwidth is to think about water flowing down a pipe. The larger the pipe is, the more water can flow in a second. Latency is the time it takes between a signal being transmitted and that same signal being received. You may have seen a live news report with a satellite link up where the person being interviewed seems to take a long time to answer the questions put to them. This is due to latency. Although we have heard the question live, it takes a few seconds for it to go via satellite to the reporter. In online gaming, poor latency can result in a poor user experience, with frames seeming to be dropped and games becoming almost unplayable. We learned about protocols at GCSE. These are agreed sets of rules on how devices communicate. There are protocols for most aspects of networking. For example, the cables themselves, the transmission methods, and more. It's important that we have agreed protocols so that networks can be built with parts from different suppliers, and we know that they'll work together. That brings us to the end of this video on communication basics. Join me again soon when I'll be back with a video on network topologies and connections between hosts. Use the resources at MrGoff.com to help you revise computer science. And until next time, it's bye for now.